I picked up Flight Simulator 10 as my plan B. If the newer Flight Simulator 2020 didn't work, I knew at least this one would work on my computer. Flight Simulator is a game best enjoyed by aviation enthusiasts. However, anyone who wants to just play around with an aircraft can definitely have that itch scratched here. Flight Simulator 10 Steam Edition was developed by Microsoft, and released in 2006, and lets you play as a variety of aircraft, take some simulated flight lessons, and fly from airports all over the world. There isn't any story for the game, just missions where you're trained up on how to fly and then participate in various missions, learning how to fly IFR, flying passenger missions, cargo, and participating in aircraft races and tricks. I had a bit of looking around for this video because I was wondering what flight simulator came out before Flight Simulator 10. I assumed the X was numeral for number 10, which is why I've been counting it as 10. A web search and a few Wikipedia articles later, turns out there's a lot of freaking flight simulator games out there. Starting all the way back in 1982 with Flight Simulator 1.0. But getting back to my question, what game came out before this one? How impressed am I supposed to be with these graphics? The Flight Simulator before 10 was 9. I'm sure those of you who can't count are shocked. However, it was titled Flight Simulator 2004, A Century of Flight. It was released in 2003. Flight Simulator 10 was released in 2006, so 10 came out 3 years after 9. The latest version of Flight Simulator, which I wasn't really sure if my computer would be able to handle it, was released in 2020 and given the catchy name Microsoft Flight Simulator. Opening bracket, 2020 video game, closing bracket. I guess when you only want people to buy the latest and greatest game, who cares about search engine optimization? Who cares about legacy versions of the game? So there isn't a story, but for my own personal story, I've taken flight lessons, but I haven't finished getting my official private pilot license from the FAA. I've got my flight hours, but I haven't taken the FAA knowledge test, and I also haven't had my check ride yet. I always wanted to fly, but never wanted to spend outrageous amounts of money to go to school for it. But after moving out on my own, I saved up enough money to get flight lessons from a local flight school. I've been on a bit of a hiatus from flight training, but in the last Steam Summer Sale, I picked up both Flight Simulator 10 and the latest Flight Simulator 2020. I now view both of these games as further investments so that I can think aviation in a simulated setting.
When you can see the sides, top, or bottom of the tow plane. It's best to stay just a bit high on the tow. The wake from the tow plane's wings flows downward, so staying high will keep you in smooth air.
Pro tip: if you've never played a flight simulator game at all, first you're going to want to get yourself a joystick or a yoke. Start with the joystick first because it's less expensive. Yokes are for hobbyists or people looking for more realism to their flight simulator experience. Don't take that the wrong way. I'm using a joystick, not a yoke. But I really should buy a yoke with a throttle, mixer, and propeller control, because I really want my experience to be as realistic as possible. It should also be added that you can play this game with a keyboard and mouse alone. There is also game controller support, so you could use that too. But the authentic controls will always be using either a joystick or a yoke along with a keyboard and mouse. You have a fair variety of aircraft, from ye old faithful Cessna C-172 Skyhawk and Beechcraft Baron 58, to ultralight aircraft, a glider, helicopters, jets, aerobatic aircraft, a seaplane, and even a combat jet, being the F/A-18. You can buy DLC for other aircraft too, but I don't have any of the DLC for the game as of now, and I don't intend to buy it either. After you decide on your aircraft, you need to choose a location to fly. There are many. My suggestion is to first fly out of an airport near you and see what amazing graphics looked like back in time, in the year 2006. You can also choose the weather and time and season that you are flying at. So, other than just dropping the player into a big empty world on top of the runway, what else is there? Well, let's look over the stuff in the game launcher. When I first load up Microsoft Flight Simulator 10, I get a weird security alert on my machine saying, "Security alert. The identity of this website or the integrity of this connection cannot be verified. The security certificate is from a trusted certifying authority. The security certificate has expired or is not yet valid. The security certificate has a valid name matching the name of the page you are trying to view. The security certificate uses a strong signature. Do you wish to proceed? Yes, no, view certificate." You can click yes or no. I don't think it matters. I just noticed that if you choose no, it prevents the home screen from hyperlinking. Speaking of the home screen, there's a link to fsxinsider.com, which is such a sketchy looking URL, but it takes you to flightsimulator.com, advertising the latest version of Flight Simulator. So Flight Simulator 2020, not Flight Sim 10. I just thought it was amusing. The game is like, go get the latest information on Flight Simulator. Go to this sketchy website. And then instead it's just like, Flight Simulator X? Never heard of it. Play this one instead. The next menu button is for Free Flight, where you set the aircraft location, weather, time, and season, and get dropped onto a runway by yourself in a big empty world. Well, not entirely empty. There are these great polygon shapes for houses, and these driving boxes with headlights for cars. The next menu button is for missions, starting out as a beginner taking flight lessons to learn the basics. The missions are voiced and simulate being in various aircraft situations, be it with a CFI, which stands for Certified Flight Instructor, sitting next to you teaching you, or a co-pilot riding along handling the radio calls to ATC, Air Traffic Control. There are 4 difficulty levels for missions: beginner, intermediate, advanced, and expert. These missions are pretty good, and if you've never flown before, I would suggest checking them out. There's an estimation for how long a mission is going to take to complete. Once you've finished it, you are given an award of sorts for your pilot record. You also get awarded with the almighty green check mark, indicating that you have finished the mission satisfactorily. The next button is multiplayer. To comment on the multiplayer, there are 2 settings: play local area network or use Steam. But if you want to host, you need to go into your router settings and do port forwarding, just like the medieval ages. Multiplayer has 2 real game modes: free play, where you do whatever you want, fly wherever you want. I don't know there are many people out there role-playing on Microsoft Flight Simulator, but judging by the promotion video for this game, maybe there are.
This is World Travel 731. I've got a big bird coming in fast and hot. I've got to put this baby on the ground. Repeat, I've got to put this baby on the ground.
Frankfurt Tower, World Travel 731. What's your position?
Heading
250, speed 200 knots. My whole life is flashing before my eyes.
You can also do missions, which are specifically races of varying difficulty and complexity. The next button in the menu is for your pilot records, which has a rewards tab, which are your achievements, but they're not linked to Steam at all. It just tracks your landings, airports, and missions you've completed. Your logbook is also a tab under the pilot records. Pilots have these in real life. The purpose is to track your flight hours, type of aircraft you've been flying, landings, takeoffs, night hours, etc. It's actually kind of a nice touch. The last tab is Photos, which is just legacy software. Why would I use the in-game screenshot when I have Steam? The next menu button is for the Learning Center. This is your F1 help key. It provides information on controllers and stuff. While this does have a reasonable repository of aeronautical information, you're better off reading the actual pilot's handbook of aeronautical knowledge. It's completely free on the FAA's website. That said, you should use this if you want to learn something specifically related to Flight Simulator 10. The next button is for your settings, which you can probably just set all your settings to ultra high, unless your computer literally runs on potatoes for batteries. This is also where you can set your realism settings. Seeing as I want to make my experience as realistic as possible, I set everything to the max. But rather than just breaking stuff on the aircraft, you typically just get a message saying, "You've crashed," and you just stop flying in midair. It kind of breaks the immersion, but I guess I was trying to do flips in an aircraft not designed for it, so I'm breaking the immersion myself. The last button is for the store, which just takes you to Steam through a web browser to buy DLC for the game instead of taking you to the Steam store through the Steam client. Sorry, it's just a pointless button. Why would you even click on that? You still have to go to Steam to get it unless you're logged in on the website. It's just not very well thought out. Again, this was my plan B if Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 didn't work. I also liked having a backup flight simulator just in case something happened, or being able to play it on an older machine or something like that. I was also able to play this game while Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 installed for several days. Flight Simulator 10 is only 15 gigabytes to download compared to Flight Sim 2020, whose download is over 150 gigabytes. I picked this game up on a 90% off sale, and would suggest anyone else to do the same. But for what I wanted Microsoft Flight Simulator for, again, that being to practice flying, getting into that pilot mindset, and practicing on bad weather days when I'm grounded, or maybe a little bit more closer to home at times that I can't afford lessons, it's great. This doesn't have nearly as shiny graphics as the latest Flight Simulator. However, it does have some G1000 functionality, multi-engine aircraft, and jets, which was exactly what I was looking to practice with. So maybe you've been on the fence about deciding if you want to pick this game up. I think waiting for a sale is preferable. As a backup game, it's okay. But if you have a computer which has the capability to play the newer Flight Simulator 2020, I think that's where your attention would best be directed. But as a plan B, you can always add this one to your library. Hopefully this review has been helpful. As always, my name is Atratzu, and I will see you in the next video.